Giving up the quest to be important to the narcissist. Have you had a parent or a partner in your life whose approval you wanted so badly, yet that approval always seemed out of reach? Did life feel more exciting or even more worth living when you were in the company of this person, and much less so when away from him or her? And has the quest to become important to this person felt consuming and yet impossible to achieve? Well, if you answered yes to any of these questions, then you may have experienced narcissistic abuse in a particular form that preys upon your hope for authentic connection to others. And in today's video, I want to explain how this promise of connection to someone you admire can become an all-consuming quest when that person is narcissistic. The reason is that your pursuit of connection and hope to be important to him or her is used by that person to inflate their own self-worth rather than connect to you. And they experience a boost in self-worth by being able to see you as wanting to be with them more than they want to be with you. And I hope you watch until the end, because I'll offer an exercise to help you identify if you're in or have been in a relationship like this or not. Well, my name is Jay Reed, and I specialize in helping individuals recover from narcissistic abuse, both in individual therapy and through my online course and accompanying private Facebook community. And so across all these platforms, we take a three-pronged approach to recovery that starts with making sense of what happened, gaining distance from the narcissistic abuser, whether it's psychological, emotional, or physical, and living in defiance of the narcissist rules. And today's video falls squarely in the bucket of gaining distance from the narcissistic abuser. Well, if you were a scapegoat survivor of a narcissistic parent or partner, then I encourage you to check out my free ebook on this topic. It's called Surviving Narcissistic Abuse as the Scapegoat, and it goes into other important aspects of what it's like to be in the shoes of the scapegoated child or partner of the narcissistic abuser. From, whether it's self-limiting beliefs about yourself that you have to adopt in order to survive, or to why the narcissistic personality is so geared to put those closest to them down. I think that this ebook can help you realize how none of this abuse was your fault, but was rather the product of the narcissist's psychological and emotional problems. And you can find the link to the book in the description below or by clicking here. And if you visit the site to sign up for the ebook, it can take a few seconds for the registration box where you enter your email address to appear. So just as a heads up, in case you get the impression that there's no way to sign up for it. And also, if you haven't already, I'd encourage you to hit the subscribe button and turn notifications on so that you're alerted when I post new videos on this topic. So how does it become so important to you to become important to the narcissist? Well, there are at least two ways that a survivor can feel wrapped up in getting a narcissist to see them as important. I think the first way is via admiration. If the narcissistic parent, partner, or friend is someone whom you find yourself admiring for seeming to possess a certain quality, then the reflex of looking up to this person can kick in. And if this person absorbs your admiration without offering much to you in return, then you may feel like you're not worth being admired by them, or if it continues long enough, even admired by yourself. In fact, it's that conspicuous feeling of worthlessness that is often the telltale sign you are in a relationship to a narcissistic abuser. When the person you admire is withholding from offering you anything in return, and you grow to feel worthless in relationship to them, then a vicious cycle can get set up. Now the only way to relieve yourself of the feelings of worthlessness is to further pursue the narcissistic abuser with the hope that they might eventually grant you access to their privileged circle of seeming self-worth. And it might feel like you can finally like and admire yourself once you're deemed important to the narcissistic abuser. The second route to feeling compelled to be found as important to the narcissistic abuser is when they initially act in an over-the-top way to entice you into their orbit. And this may involve complimenting you in ways that feel incredible because they seem to be noticing and appreciating aspects of you that may often feel unnoticed in your life. A lot of affection may accompany this effort too, and I think this term is called love bombing in popular culture right now, and I think it's a good way of describing this process. So once the recipient of this love bombing gets enveloped by how good it feels when the narcissistic person is showering them with such gratitude and appreciation, a fly in the ointment sort of starts to appear. There becomes something wrong with the recipient or the survivor that the narcissistic abuser suddenly notices and gives him or her pause about the person. And this can feel devastating to the recipient because it's a sudden and unpredicted break in the bliss that had been felt up to that point. It can then create an overriding urge to recover that bliss with this person. You might feel like you went from being worthy of being the most important person to this individual, and now due to this flaw in you, you're at risk of them wanting nothing more to do with you. It can stir terrible and panicky feelings of abandonment, rejection, that are in some sense very real in this dynamic. So in order to stave off the dread of abandonment and utter rejection by the narcissistic person, you can then devote more and more energies to proving him or her that you should be important to them. And the motivation to do this can feel intense because it can feel to you like the only way to relieve yourself of these awful feelings of worthlessness. That you must, at all costs, get the narcissistic abuser to change his or her mind about you. And then you are in their grip because their opinion about you has grown to matter more than your own about yourself. Well, how can you break this spell of needing to be important to someone who refuses to see you as such? I think the way out of this torturous yet in the beginning enticing arrangement to the narcissist is to work your way back to the place that felt imperative to initially leave. That is your own experience. And as I said earlier, the fuel for this cycle is when you start to feel a sense of worthlessness in relation to the narcissist, and that worthlessness can only be resolved by winning that person's acceptance or becoming important to them. So the cycle gets to be broken when we return to the place we felt we had to leave. And it can be useful to do this with the understanding that you see and experience yourself to be unworthy of your own attention only because you've been influenced to think about yourself in this way as a product of being close to a narcissistic abuser. In other words, you don't really think you're not important to pay attention to just as you are, but you've been treated in ways to deliberately make you think this is true. Nonetheless, the feelings that emerge when you give up the quest to be important to the narcissist can be difficult to endure. You may feel an initial sense of hopelessness, confusion, or even disorientation. The pursuit of being important to the narcissistic person may have served an organizing function for you for quite a while. So giving this up may feel a little disorganizing at first. But this can be like clearing the decks so that something much sturdier and lasting can grow to develop from within. And I think as you notice, accept, and begin to champion what's inside, you'll seek relationships that actually complement this. And I think this is different from the relationship afforded by a narcissistic abuser, where you grow to see it as a means to forget yourself and the bad feelings that accompany being aware of yourself. So how can you know if you're caught in this cycle of trying to be important to a narcissistic abuser? Well, here's an exercise I hope can help. I've created a series of statements and questions that you can ask yourself about someone whom you suspect may be playing this role as a narcissistic abuser in your life. And you can answer these with the responses of most of the time, sometimes, and rarely. So here's the first item. I feel more like myself when I'm with this person. Next, this person works to understand me where I'm at. Next, this person values my friendship or relationship and shows me that. This person values what I offer them as a friend, partner, or as their child. This person shows interest and support in what's important to me, even when they have no personal stake in the matter. This person knows me. This person sees me as an intact person. I feel important to this person. And if I need help, I feel good about asking this person for it. Well, if you selected rarely on any of these items, then it may be worth examining this relationship and considering some of what was discussed in today's video. Ultimately, the goal is to enter and maintain relationships that allow you to feel most like yourself and move away from relationships where that's not offered. There's also a section in my online course on recovery from narcissistic abuse that offers an even more in-depth understanding of why it's important to gain this kind of emotional and psychological distance from a narcissistic abuser, and offers a blueprint for how to do this. And most importantly, it's the accompanying private Facebook group that puts you in connection with other survivors of this kind of abuse and can offer a needed safe and supportive environment to counter the feelings of insignificance and defectiveness that so often strike for survivors of narcissistic abuse. And you can find the link to the course in the description box below or by clicking here. Well, thanks for watching today and for your continued support and engagement with this channel. It's always really heartening to see your testimonials in the comment section of what you've endured and overcome in your own life, or even what you're struggling with still. I think it shows a lot of bravery and honesty in this process of recovery, and I'm certain that it's helpful to others reading the comments. Well, thanks again, and I look forward to posting again next Sunday. Take care.